I'm Craig Ecclestone. I'm the PASCO product specialist here at Ada, and I've got a couple of my favorite sensors here with me right now. I've got my CO2 sensor and I have my oxygen sensor. And why I like these is because, as someone who graduated in biology many years ago, it's obviously a sensor that's very relevant, two sensors that are very relevant. And the other reason I like it is I've been involved with sensor technology for a long time, and I just know that sensors have been very complicated for the biologists to use with the older technology, with the big boxes that we've had, and it just required so much setup that a lot of times the biologists would never get involved with it. But here's two great examples of how sensor technology can be used or developed in a way that makes them very useful to biology. And so the experiment I'm going to do here, it's a very, very simple experiment, but I think you'll get ideas of different things that you can do from what I'm going to be able to show you here. And all I'm going to simply do is take my CO2 sensor and my oxygen sensor. I'm going to place them in this bag here. And then I've got this makeshift straw, and I'm going to blow air from my lungs. I'm going to take a deep breath, blow air from my lungs, fill up that bag, and with it's going to be an empty bag to start off with. So any air that's in there, it's going to be from my lungs. We're going to see what's going to happen with the CO2 levels and the oxygen levels. And so to start, I've got my software here, SparkView, and I'm going to build an experiment. So I go under here to build a new experiment. And I've got these variety of layouts. Well, I'm going to pick this one down here, that one right there that's got the 3 windows, the 2 smaller ones on the left. I'm going to click on that. And in each window, I can put whatever I want. So I'm going to put here a little digital display. I'm going to put another digital display below there. And then in the big window, I'm going to put a graph. And so what I'd like to do now is I'm going to actually put in this window here, I'm going to put CO2 concentration, all right, and I'm going to put oxygen concentration in this one. And then on this graph, I'm going to put CO2 concentration. Okay, well, what about oxygen? Well, I've got a couple of options here. I could, if I wanted to, I could create a second graph and put it below there. I have 2 graphs. I do that by clicking on this icon here. So it would tier the graphs up. In this particular case, because oxygen and CO2 are so related in this particular experiment, I think I'm going to keep them on the same graph. And to do that, I just click on that icon, and then it will scale it to this side over here. All right. And then I can put CO2 on the other side. I'm going to put oxygen on this side here. And if I wanted to, I can align them as well. That little graph, that icon there, make sure that they're already aligned, so it's not a big deal. But in any event, I'm now ready to begin collecting data. So all I have to do is hit start. All right, I'm now plotting data. You can see oxygen is about 20.9%, or as it's expressed there, it's expressed here, it's in parts per million, so that would equal to about 29.9%. CO2 is 828 parts per million, and that would be very high. The people who are, everyone I would say who's concerned about global warming would be very concerned if that was the CO2 levels that was around the atmosphere. That's simply the CO2 levels that are in this room. It's a very contained room, so it's not surprising to see the CO2 level so high. Outside, it'll be about 400, 420 parts per million. So I've got here, right at the top, I've got my oxygen, I got my CO2 right there at the bottom. And so what I'm going to simply do is take those 2 sensors, put them in the bag, all right, like that. This is the exciting part. I'm going to close the bag up like that. Okay. All right, then I'm going to put my makeshift straw in there. Okay, and such. Now I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to blow my out. All right, here it goes. And there we go. So now, what's interesting here is they're on similar scales, the oxygen and the CO2, and I think this is actually quite fascinating, and something I wasn't entirely sure whether I'd see or not, but this really does display it quite well. So I'm going to hit stop right there. Okay, I'm going to hit stop, and I'm going to move. If I take my cursor here, I can actually move the graph. I should do it this way. Like this. So we just get that part like that, right there. And just look at that. You know, it's almost as much as the CO2 went down, the oxygen level went up. Not quite. It's not quite a 1-to-1 ratio, but it's pretty darn close, which is kind of interesting because oxygen started at such a high level and CO2 started at such a low level. But when you think of what's going on in your lungs, you would expect that there would be some correlation between the two, some relationship, and it seems somewhat apparent here that it's maybe not quite 1-to-1, but it seems pretty close to being 1-to-1. So in any event, at the very least, what we saw is that, as expected, when we're breathing, we're consuming oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide, and that's detected by the data that we collected here. Okay, I hope everyone found that was interesting. Thank you very much.